Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee as we get set for what looks like the first of two rounds of snow. I'm still having a lot of issues here with regarding how this all plays out, how models are reacting to it, particularly the European model, which last night decided to go even further left. It also seems to be standing alone at this point with regards to how this event is going to play out. But I'm going to just show you why the model did what it did. First off, uh, one of the things, and just in case you're aware, the European does not have a lot of maps that are available for public viewing because it's a privately owned model. It's not government owned. So we only see a limited amount of it. So this is the first wave, and we're not going to see, this is for Thursday evening, so we're not going to see the in-between time frame where the European takes the low pretty much where the other models do, and it moves out. But here's the second one, and what's happening is, and it's pretty simple, really. This is for Saturday evening with the low east-northeast of the North Carolina coast and south of the southern New England coast. But what the European did last night was actually bring in the more robust precip line that would produce 6 inches more of snow as far north as southern New England, west of New York City, to just east of Philadelphia, and then continuing south from there. So, this is one of those situations where, at least for the immediate coast, it's a tight call. And the reason why the European model did this, and I'm going to switch over to the upper air, and it's really just a matter of the fact that the European has a much more defined weather system here that's coming through. And I'll show you one right here. You have this upper trough to the north, and you have a well-defined southern stream system. They're not quite phased, and what happens is they probably phase in the next time frame, which would be too late for a big major snowstorm for the entire mid-Atlantic and northeastern coast. But all of this is happening close enough where you got to be a little bit careful, certainly for coastal areas. But one of the things I've noticed, and by the way, this is what happens. This is by Sunday evening. Everything is long gone by then, but you can see how the trough is pretty much phased in a north-south fashion, but it's already, too far to the east. But I want to show you the other models and why it's just a little bit different. This is the GFS run from last night, which maybe was a little bit further to the left, but all the other solutions at this point remain offshore. And what we have on the GFS, and there's the primary difference, is that this southern stream feature is not as well defined. You've got this northern one coming out, but you kind of barely can find the one in the southern stream. It's there, but it's just not as defined as it is on the European. So you wind up with a system that's a little flatter and a little further east, and you can see how the trough on the GFS by Sunday evening is there, but it's maybe a little less deep than the European is. So, in the Canadian, by the way, same idea. The Canadian actually isn't too bad. It's in terms of a compromise between the two of them. You can at least pick out the southern stream feature on the Canadian as it lifts up to the northeast, and the thing in the north is coming down. But again, it's still this sort of unfazed look. But the European is the most dynamic with that. Now, let me just first go to the NAM because we need to kind of focus on first things first because we have two events here that we're dealing with. And with regards to the NAM model, and we're going to just zero in here, and let me just back it up so we can see what's happening. So this first system that's coming out seems to be a little bit more defined with every NAM run. Excuse me, even the GFS, which up until now has not even bringing snow in to this area of the Northeast. Suddenly, yesterday evening, brought snow in for the first time and continued that trend overnight. I think this is going to still wind up being a minor system. It could be the kind of system that produces a coating to a few inches. But the one difference now is that I think the area of a a coating to a few inches will be a little more widespread than what was thought yesterday because this low is just a little bit more robust as it moves on through. And in fact, it does even generate some heavier snows just offshore. So I want to be careful in a situation like this. This is the kind of setup where sometimes you can wind up with a surprise. When we look at what's happening in the upper air with this system, this has become a little bit more, we'll call it impressive, for lack of a better word. But right here is where we have the upper trough with this next weather system, and weather models have been getting holding it together a bit more. This is not a strong system by any means. There's probably a little energy that's right in there. It's hard to pick out. So what happens is the surface low is well ahead of where the main support is. So by the time the main support catches up, this system is already pretty far out to the east. But you're at the process here, the beginning process, where you start to see precip being generated. So that's why I think that we stand a pretty good bet to see maybe some places seeing up to a few inches with this Thursday night into Friday morning. Now that goes out, and then we start to see snow blossoming out in Virginia and North Carolina on the NAM going into Saturday morning. But the NAM is not shifted really that far to the left. It's shifted a little bit to the left, but it still wants to take a wave out to the east-northeast. So, we're at Wednesday here. I'm thinking one of these models is going to cave in one direction or another, and I'm not, I would have liked to have seen the NAM go at least much further northwest with this. It did not do that. And when we look at the upper air on the NAM for Saturday evening in terms of its structure, it's not like what the European has. The European argues for a rather, a much deeper looking upper air profile and a much deeper looking system. I'm not seeing that. So at least on the NAM model. That's not to say that, there's still time. We could have, I think, we certainly could have another model run series today that doesn't really change very much, where the European remains aggressive for the second system and the other models don't. There's still time for that to switch over. My gut feeling tells me that the European is going to wind up caving to the other models and showing a flatter solution. But, there's energy coming into the Pacific West now that this is the system that it's going to be, that when it gets to the East Coast. Maybe the European has a better view of things, samples the energy a lot more efficiently, and is seeing things that the other models are not seeing. So let me take a look we'll take a look now at the snowfall maps here that the models are producing. Excuse me. So this is the NAM model's snow map for pretty much the first event. And it produces, anywhere, looks like a coating to a few inches for New Jersey, southeastern New York, Long Island, and Connecticut. And it's a much more widespread looking snow map. That is the NAM 12 kilometer. So we'll look at the 4 kilometer, which last night went really crazy and had 6-inch plus snows everywhere. So it kind of backed off from that. So it's got, up to a few inches, up to 2 or 3 inches, maybe a little bit more over eastern Long Island. It looks like, judging from the shading. And this is through Friday evening. And we'll look at the NAM 3 kilometer run. And the NAM 3 kilometer is pretty aggressive here. And it's got, for central and eastern Long Island, it's got 6 plus, and it's got, 3-inch plus snows back to New York City and along the New Jersey coast, and certainly every bit of 1 to 2 inches as you go north and west. So, these model runs have been, the NAM in particular, have been kind of leading the way here. I'm trying to take a look. You know what? Let's see the RGEM, because we might be into the RGEM's range soon. Let's see. The RGEM overnight is only going to take us into 1 a.m. And you know what? The RGEM through 1 a.m. Last night already having snow on the ground. So let's look at the surface. That's a nice, nice little low here that starts to form off the North Carolina, Virginia coast. And one of the things we have to be careful of is that we're at the beginning of the development process with this. So radar echoes are going to be increasing. The atmosphere is going to be in a rather unstable place. So that could mean some surprises for some people, and we're going to want to pay attention to that. Okay, got to run. I'm going to update my snowfall maps later today, so I will, have posts up on the website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. So please go there for the latest snowfall maps and my latest forecast. And also, you can have my latest forecasts on my app. You can download and subscribe to it, 99 cents a month for New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. And we will await to see the European model run today to see if it continues to hold on to the idea of a pretty significant snow event for the weekend, or if it winds up backing off and showing much less.